Do you ever find yourself feeling frustrated after you've just planned out the whole perfect week and then you weren't able to stick to it? Have you tried your best to optimize your perfect morning routine, but find that on some days you either don't have the energy or the time to do a whole meditation, journaling, movement, skincare before you start your busy day? I am someone that can be incredibly disciplined, almost to a fault, and I can also be a rebel and just want the luxury of feeling like I can do whatever I want, whenever I want. But I want to provide some important frameworks so that you can figure out a weekly system that can actually work for you and help enhance your overall well-being, and one that you can actually stick to. Because there are so many nuances to our own individual health, our habits, and lifestyle, I'm going to be breaking down today's videos into 3 components. Due to the nature of our modern day life, we're all a little bit out of sync with our natural circadian rhythm, along with our physiological and psychological response to constant stimuli. Throughout the day, all of us are basically trying to take ourselves up and then down and then up and then finally down. Because I have been my own lab rat, and on those days where I decided to be wild and drink a cup of coffee at 4 p.m., I noticed that I have a really hard time falling asleep at night. Also, how we wake up in the morning is incredibly important, how we set the tone for the entire day. Even though you might feel sleepy upon waking, there's actually a spike of cortisol right after we wake up, and I don't think it's helpful to compound that effect by immediately going onto our phone and being bombarded with the day's notifications. I personally always preferred a more gentle waking versus like a rocket fuel punch to the face. I've actually been trying out Magic Mind in the last 2 weeks. It's a mental performance shot that's meant to be an addition to your daily routine, and it helps enhance focus while also reducing anxiety and stress. Even though they're not sponsoring the video, they did kindly send me their products to try and share my genuine feedback. I actually saw other people who drink their Magic Mind shot with their coffee. What I like to do is actually have it with my morning matcha. As someone who is a constant skeptic and has to try everything out for herself, I really appreciate that their product was developed with medical researchers and each of the ingredients are backed by scientific studies. I actually really love that they use ceremonial grade matcha in these shots because I'm a little bit of a tea snob, and I think matcha should always be consumed with the ceremonial grade unless you're baking. And to be honest, I'm already a morning person, but I've actually been really enjoying taking these shots in the afternoon because that's when I start to have a natural decline in my energy levels. And because it's not like a cup of coffee with just about 55 milligrams of caffeine in there, it helps me stay focused and keep working throughout the afternoon without keeping me up at night. If you want to try it out for yourself, I have it linked down below, and you can get up to 48% off on your first subscription in the next 10 days. So be sure to pay attention to your own unique energy fluctuations throughout the day, and don't try to force yourself to have more energy when your tank is already empty. It's only going to add more compounded stress to your own nervous system. There's been this trend of doing 10K steps a day. Honestly, it's such a weird, arbitrary number. I tried it myself, and I even bought a walking pad for when I'm working from home, and I couldn't stick to it. Just up until recently, I was going to the gym 4 times a week to lift weights, and I would also go run once or twice on the track. And this led to me being so fatigued that I had to take 2 whole weeks completely off. My current framework and system for movement is to do it as much as possible. I now go to the gym only 3 times a week, and I like to add anywhere from 1 to 3 walks in nature, whether it's alone or with a friend. And I'll squeeze in some extracurricular activities for the week, like a rock climbing or a dance class, if I have extra energy for that week. If you've been unsuccessful with sticking to a workout routine, I find that people typically fall off for 2 main reasons at the beginning. Either they do too much too quickly and they burn out, or before even trying a routine, they set such unrealistic goals for themselves that they just don't start at all because it's so easy to make excuses that you don't have enough time in your day to walk 10K steps, or that you don't have enough time in the week to go to the gym 5 times a week. It is absolutely okay to start small and build onto your routine. Your best weekly movement schedule is one that you can stick to consistently. To be honest, some days I don't eat as well as I want to. I used to be someone that tracked their macros for every meal, and I realized it just wasn't for me. Instead of giving it up altogether though, I've used that experience that I've had to just be really mindful that I choose a high protein meal every time, and that when I go grocery shopping, I purchase items that I will actually eat. The worst thing that can happen is that you get really excited to start a brand new healthy lifestyle and diet. You go to the grocery store and you fill your cart full of things that you think are good for you, and when you get home for the next week, you don't end up eating any of it because you don't know how to prepare it or you just don't like anything you bought. So be realistic about what you like and what you will actually eat, and you can always find recipes that are healthier alternatives of things that you like. Just like the quote that says, "We are what we eat," we are also what we choose to consume mentally every day. Imagine eating just junk food all day for the whole week and how that will make you feel. Scrolling for me is basically like eating junk food for my mind. I actually start to feel kind of anxious and nauseated if I scroll for too long, and I made this habit of like actually tossing my phone to somewhere safe so that I just get out of this scroll hole, because sometimes it's hard to get out of it. A habit that I picked up recently that I really enjoy, because I definitely am someone that needs a lot of variety, I will have 2 books usually at once, sometimes more. I always have one fictional book on my Kindle because I want to be a minimalist. I don't want to have too many books. But I will always also have a non-fictional book as a paperback. I think a lot of times people are struggling now with reading because they're reading things that's hard to digest and they don't really enjoy. But even just reading slowly helps us get into a more relaxed state versus doing something like scrolling short form content. So right now I am currently reading Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman on my Kindle, and I've been reading this book, Polyvagal Exercises for Safety and Connection, as my nonfiction. I'm not gonna sit here and act holier than thou. I like to watch a little bit of TV and movies when I want to downregulate. In fact, the other day I was having a really low energy day, so I kind of spent all day in bed and just watched horror movies because that's what I feel is cozy and comforting sometimes. The point is balance. If you're only consuming junk food in your everyday life, see if you can start to develop a habit of consuming either just longer form or starting to learn how to appreciate and enjoy reading again. A lot of times people get back into the joy of reading by selecting fictional books that they enjoy. I think a lot of optimization these days that we see are very individualistic, meaning it's very self-focused. The older I get, the more I realize that a lot of times my lack of willingness to socialize or meet new people was purely to stay within my comfort zone. I recently started intentionally meeting and making new friends and trying new things. As someone who has absolutely experienced social anxiety in the past, I just want to say that the more you do it, the more comfortable you get at doing it. I think that all of us suffer from a form of feeling disconnected or feeling lack of belonging. And studies have actually shown that while interactions with our loved ones like family and friends provide great value, brief interactions with strangers actually provide a unique form of connection that can enhance daily feelings of belonging and happiness. In a world where optimization for individual performance is very popular, I think it's more important than ever that when you're creating your weekly schedule or your system, to be sure to include intentionally spending time with loved ones and allow yourselves to be open to a pleasantly surprised interaction with someone sharing public space with you. Having a system that enhances your life is not meant to be a short-term goal, and it is meant to shift and change as your life or you yourself change. If you have tried having a meticulous daily or weekly schedule and find that you've just failed try after try, don't ever make it about "I can't do this" or "this is just not for me." Instead, tell yourself that it was a tough week or you fell off, and figure out what didn't work and try again next week with a revised version. Instead of thinking in short-term goals where you can succeed or fail, continue to have fun with refining and adjusting your schedule. Shifting our mindset and identity is a critical process to sustainability. You have to really enjoy the process and not only seek the outcome. When I first started going to the gym, it felt purely like a chore, but now it's turned into my me time. So instead of feeling stressed about sticking to a really rigid schedule, which leads you to just giving up, instead try and feel empowered to modify it and change it as you see it's necessary to help you stick to it. Don't feel like running today? Go on a hike with a friend instead. Don't feel like eating a salad today? Cook bok choy with just garlic. Tastes great. Each of us go through cyclical seasons in micro and macro ways. Some seasons are for more activity and creativity, and other seasons are for rest and reflection. It's a lot more difficult to obtain a robotic perfection, and it is a lot more important to come to value your own well-being and having that as your priority. You might be someone who needs a little bit more discipline, and you might be someone that uses discipline as a way to control. Only you know yourself best. Think of your weekly system like a well-balanced meal. We're all humans and we all have very foundational essentials that helps with our well-being. Things like our health, social connection, purpose, and enjoyment. Try and create a list of items or practices for each of these categories that you can select from, kind of like a recipe book that's especially made for you. And the next step is to figure out your own current core values in relation to these categories. If one of your current core values is to create a community and make social connections, pick activities that allows you to be physical and create a community at the same time. Spend time with other people who enjoys nutritious food and want to encourage each other to work on their goals. If you're someone whose current core value is focusing on working and advancing your career, then create a weekly system that allows you to focus on your work without compromising your health. Do a weekly meal prep so that you don't have to think about your lunch and dinner every single day. And follow social media accounts that help give tips or insights into how to advance in your industry. You can also add snack size exercises in between sitting for really long times, just getting up and moving your body every so often. Starting from today, reframe your mindset and take it from a disciplined, rigid, daily habits way of thinking into thinking of yourself as an architect that designs a system that actually enhances your lifestyle. Create a system that is open to modification and updates when it's necessary. And not everybody's gonna have the time for the perfect 1 hour morning routine, and maybe not every day. But instead, think what are some options that can benefit you. Create your system with compassion, because not everyone is going to be able to optimize in the same way. And as much as you want to copy and try someone else's perfect daily routine, the one that's perfect is going to be the one that you can stick to. I would love to hear what are some weekly non-negotiables for you and how have they enhanced your life? Or was there something that helped you reframe your mindset to begin prioritizing your well-being instead of it feeling like chores to do? Thank you so much for watching, and until next time.